Now, Americans have been asked which country they dislike the most, and their answers might not come as a huge surprise. According to a Gallup poll released on Monday, North Korea and Iran were countries Americans like the least. In the poll of 1,000 people, 86% said they looked unfavourably upon North Korea and Iran. Only 11% of the respondents said they viewed them in a good, positive light. Syria and Afghanistan weren't that far behind either. In terms of countries Americans love, really like, Canada topped the list with a favourable rating of 92%, followed by Great Britain and Japan.
Elsewhere, Iran's Islamic Revolution Guards Corps, the IRGC, has launched major military drills in the central parts of the country. The three-day Great Prophet 11 maneuvers kicked off with the participation of different IRGC units. Early on Monday, the forces fired advanced smart rockets at mock enemy positions in the first phase of the drills. The maneuvers aim to display the defense capabilities of the IRGC forces against probable foreign threats. Iran has made great achievements in its defense sector and reached self-sufficiency in producing essential military equipment and systems. Well, Iran is set to hold the 6th International Conference in support of the Palestinian Intifada, hosting delegations from 80 countries. The two-day event will begin with a statement from the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, on February the 20th. Iran's Parliament Speaker Ali Larijani will preside over the conference, and President Hassan Rouhani will be among its final speakers. The event aims to emphasize the importance of Intifada, or the Palestinian uprising against the Israeli occupation. The latest wave of anti-Israeli movement, known as the Third Intifada, was sparked by Tel Aviv's restrictions on Palestinians' right to pray in the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound.
A new report has just been released by the Israeli Shin Bet regarding the ongoing terrorism in Israel. And this one claims that January 2017 has been the deadliest month since last June. 5 Israelis were killed by Palestinian terrorists over the course of January, and 16 more were wounded. The Shin Bet even recorded a total of 100 terror attacks in the cold winter month, 81 of which involved the hurling of firebombs. 4 of the civilians killed last month were murdered on January 8th when an assailant drove his truck into a crowd of Israeli soldiers. Last December, there were 98 terror attacks in Israel.
Israeli defense officials have just confirmed that 2 rockets were fired from the Sinai Peninsula into open space in southern Israel this morning.
No injuries or damages were caused because the missile smashed into an open area. The nation's red alert air raid siren wasn't sounded after it was determined the projectiles were headed toward a non-populated area. No group has yet claimed responsibility for the attack, although earlier in the month, the Islamic State-affiliated Sinai province terror group took credit for 4 rockets launched at the Israeli city of Eilat from the peninsula, which is a hotbed of an extremist insurgency. Today's attack also comes just one day after the province terrorists accused the Israeli army of killing 4 of its members in a drone strike as they traveled in a car driving along the Jewish state's border with Egypt. The IDF hasn't confirmed or denied the report, which is consistent with its policy of withholding comment on incidents occurring outside of Israel.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to arrive tomorrow in Australia, where he will face opposition from some 60 prominent anti-Israel activists protesting the visit. According to the Australian newspaper The Age, business and religious leaders, lawyers, academics, entertainers, and former politicians have joined forces to oppose Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to Australia, saying his policies provoke, intimidate, and oppress the Palestinian people and are pushing the Middle East further from peace. The protesters include anti-Semitic organizations that support the terrorist group Hamas and its dictatorship over Gaza. Protests against Netanyahu's visit are scheduled in Melbourne, Canberra, and Sydney after he arrives there on Wednesday. This will be the first ever visit by an Israeli Prime Minister to the country. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull and Netanyahu are set to sign agreements on technological innovation and research and development, providing a framework for scientists, engineers, and businesses to cooperate.
No Trump! No Brexit!
No Brexit!
Thousands of protesters gathering outside the UK Parliament to demand the cancellation of a state visit invitation to US President Donald Trump.
We fight back!
Protesters in London say they're disappointed with Prime Minister Theresa May for extending the invite. May's government has defended the decision, saying it wants to reaffirm their special relationship with the United States. It also wants to secure a trade deal as Britain prepares to leave the European Union.
Extraordinary, completely unprecedented.
Inside, Parliament debated a petition signed by 1.8 million people to cancel the state visit.
A state visit is more prestigious than an official visit since it involves the Queen and a lot of pomp and circumstance. Only 2 presidents since the 50s have received such an honor.
Today, thousands protested the Trump initiatives and what they called Not My President's Day. One of the largest demonstrations was in New York, near one of Mr. Trump's high-rises. In Portland, Oregon, police arrested several protesters who blocked a downtown street. In Atlanta, about 400 marched peacefully through Midtown.
Well, parents in Chatham, New Jersey are disturbed by what they say is a local school's inordinate emphasis on teaching the beliefs of Islam, while at the same time suppressing any expression of Christianity. Students in a Chatham Middle School social studies class were shown a cartoon video describing the 5 pillars of Islam, the religion's core practices. The video included such statements as, quote, "There is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger," and it ends with a non-Muslim accompanying a Muslim friend to a mosque to pray. Well, parents Libby Hilton-Rather and Nancy Gayer say the video doesn't just explain Islam, it promotes it.
I think it crosses the line because it teaches one religion and not all others. It's in a world culture and geography course, and no other religion is taught. And to me, that's not education, because in order to educate, you need to teach all. And I also feel that if you're going to teach it to that degree, you're teaching the tenets or the doctrines of a religion. So our question was, okay, then if you're going to do that in the public school, would you also be comfortable teaching the doctrines of Christianity, for example?
Well, sure. Yeah.
To say, would you be comfortable in a public school to say, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to God but through me. And I don't know that the school would say that.
Officials have informed NBC News that a dozen people walked through a security lane at John F. Kennedy International Airport who were not screened. An airport official and a law enforcement official added that transportation safety personnel did not screen them. The TSA stated 3 passengers may not have been screened again after setting off metal detectors. Officials stated surveillance video captures the 3 metal detectors, adding that the security breach occurred early in the morning at Terminal 5. However, TSA failed to inform the Port Authority Police Department in New York for 2 hours, which is a violation of protocol.
Hundreds of migrants storm a border fence to enter EU territory in North Africa. Some 700 people attempted to cross the 20-foot-high fence separating Morocco from the Spanish enclave of Ceuta early on Monday, February 20th. Local authorities said more than 350 managed to break through. The Red Cross reported 11 migrants were injured in the chaos. 1 migrant and 2 police officers were taken to hospitals with serious injuries. Monday's incident comes on the heels of another lapse in border security at the site. Some 500 migrants broke through into Ceuta on Friday in what officials called the biggest border invasion in recent years. Some 1,400 mostly sub-Saharan African migrants are now waiting at an immigration center in Ceuta. Reuters says many will likely be sent back to Morocco or their point of origin. Ceuta, along with another Spanish territory called Melilla, holds the EU's only land borders with Africa.
Last month, U.S. President Donald Trump reinstated a policy requiring overseas organizations that receive U.S. family planning funds to certify they do not perform abortions or provide abortion advice as a method of family planning. In January, the Netherlands started a global fund to help women access abortion services, saying Trump's global gag rule meant a funding gap of $600 million over the next 4 years. Prime Minister Ernest Solberg said, "The government is increasing its support for family planning and safe abortion by 85 million Norwegian crowns, or $10 million compared with 2016. Sweden, Denmark, Belgium, Luxembourg, Finland, Canada, and Cape Verde have also lent their support." Solberg said in a statement, "At a time when this agenda has come under pressure, a joint effort is particularly important."
The United Nations has officially declared a famine in South Sudan, the first to be declared anywhere in the world in the past 6 years. The UN is calling it a man-made catastrophe caused by war and economic collapse. More than 100,000 people in 2 countries did not have enough to eat, and there are fears that the famine will spread to an additional 1 million other South Sudanese who are already on the brink of starvation.
The spokesperson for the World Food Program says years of civil war and a prolonged economic crisis have taken its toll. Desperation. A UN official has accused the South Sudanese government of blocking or placing constraints on the delivery of food aid to some areas of the country. A claim the government denies. Humanitarian agencies say they are trying to get food into the area, but do not have enough to get everyone. Russia's ambassador to the United Nations has died suddenly in New York City. According to officials, Vitaly Churkin became ill in his office at Russia's UN mission and was taken to Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, where he died this afternoon.
His cause of death is not known. He was 64 years old. Churkin has been Russia's envoy at the United Nations for a little over a decade and was considered Moscow's great champion at the UN. The permanent representative of the United Arab Emirates to the UN announced his death just a short time ago.
Distinguished colleagues, excellencies, it is with deep sadness that I have to inform you that the Russian delegation have just informed us of the untimely passing away of Ambassador Vitaly Churkin this morning. I would like to offer, on behalf of all of us, our deepest condolences to the country, to the government of Russia, to the Russian mission here at the UN, and most of all, to the wife and 2 children of Ambassador Vitaly Churkin.
Former United States Ambassador to the United Nations Susan Rice also expressed her condolences, tweeting, "Vitaly was a formidable adversary, but always a friend. My heartfelt condolences to his wife, Irina, his family, and the Russian UN mission."
The new weapon in the ISIS arsenal isn't on the battlefield, but above it. New propaganda videos from ISIS appear to show armed drones dropping explosives on Iraqi troops with dead center accuracy. As the militant group loses ground in Iraq, it's been using drones with increasing levels of sophistication. Iraqi TV correspondent Abdul Hamid Zabari was wounded by an armed drone while traveling with Iraqi forces in Mosul.
Was there a flash of light? Did you hear the explosion?
It was a loud blast, he said. I fell down on my side. I knew what it was because seconds earlier the soldiers started shouting, "Drone, drone, drone." ISIS drones have also been used to deadly effect as surveillance, guiding car bombs through Mosul's narrow streets straight to Iraqi troop positions. Federal Police Commander General Ali Al-Lami said his troops are constantly on the lookout. A car bomb can destroy a unit, he said. A truck bomb can destroy a brigade. The U.S. military told us its troops have new weapons to counter ISIS drones, a gun that jams the radio waves between the drone and its controller.
Do you have one of those, or are the Americans helping you with that drone gun? You don't have those weapons? You'd like to have those weapons? Of course.
And they may need them. ISIS has been dug in for months in western Mosul, and they're not likely to leave without a major fight.
U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis distanced himself from one of the president's campaign talking points.
We're not in Iraq to seize anybody's oil.
Mattis made that comment on his way to Baghdad. The unannounced trip seems to be geared at both assessing the ongoing battle with ISIS and calming Iraqi worries about the Trump administration's foreign policy plans. President Trump has said both during his campaign and while in office, he thought the U.S. should have taken control of Iraqi oil fields in order to prevent the rise of ISIS.
But if you think about it, Mike, if we kept the oil, you probably wouldn't have ISIS because that's where they made their money in the first place. So we should have kept the oil. But, okay. Maybe you'll have another chance.
Trump signed an executive order on January 28th, giving top military officials 30 days to craft a new plan to take out ISIS for good.
Iranian energy officials have announced the discovery of a new shale oil reserve in the western province of Lorestan. Now, preliminary studies show that the huge reserves of light crude oil are estimated to contain the equivalent of over 2 billion barrels. Previously, Iranian authorities also discovered new oil reserves in other provinces. The ongoing exploration for oil is set to be completed in October.
Last week, environmental activists voiced their opposition amid rumors that a 7-year moratorium on natural gas development near the Delaware River, which supplies water for more than 15 million people, may be lifted. Both environmental groups and anti-drilling residents fear that regulators may be taking steps that would open Pennsylvania's northeastern tip to drilling and fracking. Officials with the Delaware River Basin Commission, the agency in charge of monitoring and regulating the water supply of Philadelphia and half the population of New York City, has yet to comment on the progress of natural gas regulations or the moratorium restricting drilling in the area.
A new ceasefire has begun in the east of Ukraine between government forces and separatist rebels. The Ukrainian military said that as of noon, the rebels had not used heavy weapons. In recent weeks, the area around the government-held town of Avdiivka has seen some of the heaviest artillery fire of the past 2 years, refocusing global attention on a simmering conflict that has strained relations between Russia and the West. And on Monday, a Reuters witness said no artillery or gunfire could be heard there. The leaders of Germany, France, Russia, and Ukraine called on Sunday for renewed efforts to implement the terms of the much-violated Minsk peace agreement of 2015.
Pakistan says airstrikes by its air force have killed dozens of militants in a tribal region along the Afghan border. The attacks targeted militant hideouts in North Waziristan. Reports say that Pakistan is also deploying heavy artillery near its border with Afghanistan while building up its troops in the region. Meanwhile, security forces have rounded up nearly 100 Afghan refugees in the southwestern city of Quetta. Officials say the Afghans have illegally stayed in Pakistan. The crackdown comes after a series of bombings killed more than 100 people in the country last week.
Pakistan beefs up its air force with the welcoming of 16 new fighter jets. The JF-17s can carry up to 8,000 pounds of weapons and can fly up to 1,370 miles per hour. The new jets were unveiled February 16th in a ceremony attended by high-ranking Pakistan military officials. Defence Minister Khawaja Asif said Pakistan is a peace-loving country but wishes to protect its borders from aggression. Pakistan has a contentious history with its neighbour India, which has an air force with more than 2,000 aircraft. Pakistan has only just over 900. Pakistan Air Chief Marshal Sohail Aman said the country remains committed to providing its own defence in the future. However, Gulf News says he thanked China for providing relentless support to Pakistan as they help manufacture the new fighter jets. Pakistan will also receive 4 attack helicopters from Russia later this year.
Surveillance video of the moments before the assassination of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's half-brother is being made public now. Footage obtained by Japanese television reportedly shows a woman coming up behind Kim Jong-nam and holding something over his mouth. You can see it there. You watch closely. Benjamin Hall joins us now live from London with the latest. All right, what more are we learning about the investigation?
Well, Shannon, over the weekend, quite a lot of new information coming out, and it does now seem quite likely that this was planned, certainly by the North Koreans. Malaysian police, as you say, are piecing together the final moments of Kim's life, and we can see him entering the airport in a light-coloured suit, crossing the foyer and going to check in. Soon after that, a woman in a white shirt walks rapidly up behind him and appears to lunge from behind and throw something over his head, locking her arms around him briefly before rushing away. Footage then shows Kim seeking help, wiping his face, gesturing to his eyes before being escorted to a medical clinic, and that's where he was said to have collapsed. And it is quite amazing to have step-by-step footage of this taking place, and it's clear whatever was used on him was certainly a fast-acting nerve agent.
Malaysia recalls its ambassador to Pyongyang and summons North Korea's ambassador to Kuala Lumpur. The moves on Monday, February 20th, follow rising tensions between the two countries after the murder of Kim Jong-nam, the estranged half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. 4 suspects have been arrested in connection with Kim's death in Malaysia 1 week ago. He was apparently poisoned at the Kuala Lumpur airport, but North Korea's top ambassador to Malaysia has criticized the investigation. The Associated Press reports North Korea's ambassador to Malaysia, Kang Chol, called the investigation politically motivated. The Star reports he previously said the Malaysian government had, quote, something to conceal. North Korea has demanded Kim's body and refused to accept autopsy results, which could be released this week. Malaysia's prime minister rejects those claims as, quote, baseless. South Korean officials believe Kim Jong-nam's murder was likely the work of North Korean assassins.
If you cook at home regularly, you might want to listen up. We could be facing a global shortage of olive oil. The three countries that produce the bulk of olives and olive oil, Spain, Greece, and Italy, have been suffering from drought, floods, bugs, and bacteria. Prices have been rising. The shortage comes at a time when olive oil is already in high demand, in part due to a huge new market in China. This shortage hasn't hit U.S. wallets yet, thanks in part to the strength of the American dollar. But in places like the UK, where the uncertainty of Brexit has caused a massive fluctuation in the value of the pound, the shortage is making a bigger impact. By the end of the year, the price of a bottle of olive oil could increase by up to 1/3.
The outbreak of avian influenza at poultry farms across Korea has caused the price of chicken to surge by nearly 150% in less than 2 months. According to the Korea Institute for Animal Products Quality Evaluation, on December 22nd, the wholesale price of a kilogram of chicken was 888 won, or about 77 US cents. But as of February 14th, it cost about $1.90. This is not only expected to affect grocery store prices, but those of fried chicken chains as well.
Severe weather swept through San Antonio, Texas, and other parts of the Lone Star State as we went from late Sunday night into the early morning hours of Monday. At least 3 potential tornadoes, and they damaged more than 100 structures and caused some minor injuries. Now, a lot of the damaged buildings were homes, but there was also an elementary school north of San Antonio that was damaged in the storm. More than 40,000 customers were also without power at the height of the outages around San Antonio.
A wolf seen walking the streets of LA prompted a call for help. But when rescuers showed up, they were shocked at what they found. What had wandered into a gated front yard was not a wolf, but what they thought was a possible wolf hybrid.
Oh, you're so pretty.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
You deserve better. The canine was clearly in pain from surviving on her own.
Look at her nails, how long they are.
Look at her paws, how swollen they are from infection. The three headed to the veterinary care clinic, where staff members named the dog Julia. They found she was suffering from mange, multiple bacterial infections, and malnutrition. But with a special bath and time to heal, they saw signs of recovery.
Look, her tail is going for the first time.
A few months later, with the help of Art and Paws, Julia found her forever home. And now she's a completely different dog.
Let's go play. Good girl.
A DNA test revealed Julia is not a wolf dog, but actually a German Shepherd Siberian Husky mix, proving things are never really what they seem.